My family has lived in York for probably about 8 or 9 generations, but I'm really the first generation that primarily conducts business and plays in the city. I'm invested in York because I have only been chased by people in York City one time, and that was because my car was on fire and I didn't realize it. And when the people first started chasing me, I was thinking, like, is this really happening? Is this actually happening? But then they were yelling "Fuego." And so I then saw the flames and pulled over. And it was one of those moments where I was just really glad to not have to be alone because, my car was on fire. And we just kind of stood there and lamented the condition of it, que mala suerte, using my imperfect Spanish to kind of communicate with them, and really appreciated the heads up.
Why am I invested in York? Born and raised here in the city of York, specifically here on the East End, had many moments playing here on Albemarle Park. As a kid, we didn't have a lot, and yet we did a lot. Somehow, some way, we managed to go to Broadway plays. We managed to spend our holidays each year in Philadelphia shopping at the Galleria Mall, on bus trips. We always had opportunities. So being an adult, I look at what opportunities can we open up, what doors can we open up for the children coming behind us.
I came to York about 14 years ago. I had spent all of my professional life before that in really big cities, Boston, New York, Washington. Split my time between those cities. I got to know them pretty well with the traffic and all the good things about them and all the bad things. I mean, when I was in Washington, right before I left, we had the whole thing with the sniper down there, and I don't know if you remember that, but I found myself pumping gas and bobbing and weaving the whole time I was pumping gas. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. This is nuts. I don't need this. So I was looking for a city that still was cosmopolitan enough that it had a lot of different kinds of things to offer, but it had not quite as large as New York City. There is a difference between York and New York, I have discovered, and I kind of like York.
The reason I'm invested in York because York invested in me, and I think of York as a place of second chances, and I've had many chances here, and now as a retired person, I have time to give back.
I show my love for York in what I do behind the scenes, in helping people. And by helping people, specifically helping our nonprofits and community groups to be able to acquire resources to provide services to the citizens of the city of York and York County abroad.
I believe that the things we're doing in the city will gather a momentum and will help everybody. And we know that one way that happens, research shows, is art, that art is a major catalyst for revitalization. And so I participate pretty heavily in the artistic community and try to support artists.
One thing I like about York is the relationships that I've been able to create and build with the other residents here in York. I travel around as a musician, and it can be a lonely time. And when I come back to York, I guess I'm addicted to hugs, because I go down to Central Market and people must sit back and think I know everybody because everybody's giving me a hug or a handshake. And that to me is what I need. I need that relationship with people, and York gives me that fix that I need.
I was working for Kodak at the time, and I was transferred here to work in a photo lab. And when I came here, I discovered what used to be the York Emporium, and I fell in love with it. And even after I had moved on from York in my dealings with Kodak, I kept coming back to York to go to the York Emporium. And then it was kismet. I was up here one day, and the owner at the time, Gary Roby, and I were talking, and I made some comment about how someday when I grow up, I want to own a used bookstore like this. And he and I got to talking, and make a long story short, we made a deal that day. I had intended it. It was not the plan, but it has worked out very well. It's got the right pace. It's got enough of everything, but not too much of any one thing.
We ought to try to give back in any way we can to make this the best city anyone would ever want to live in or raise their children in.